Welcome everyone, my name is Rigel and today we're going to take a look at what we know so far about the Eurovision Song Contest 2024 as of late July of 2023. Now, in most years we don't really have a lot of information yet, but right now we already have quite a bit of news and yeah, my blog post is already filling up surprisingly fast. Link in the description as always if you want to check out the blog post for more detailed information that I might not cover here. So yeah, we're gonna go back to the wiki page now because there's actually quite a bit of stuff on the wiki page. But of course, I'm also going to talk about stuff that aren't necessarily mentioned in the wiki page. So here we go. The contest is going to be held in Malmö, which is in the south of Sweden. It will be hosted at the Malmö Arena, which is the exact same arena which hosted Eurovision 2013. And the dates are going to be the 7th, the 9th, and the 11th of May 2024. Now, as you can already see here, in terms of participants, we have one very significant returning country, which is Luxembourg. Now, we'll get back to Luxembourg, but for now, yes, in case you missed the news, Luxembourg is returning to the contest after 30 years of not taking part. So, as I mentioned earlier, the contest is going to be held in Malmö. There were several cities that were bidding, including Stockholm, and apparently, according to this anyway, Stockholm was the only other city that was shortlisted, and Gothenburg or Göteborg and also Örnsköldsvik were also they also submitted bids, but I guess they just didn't get shortlisted. I honestly didn't see this news, so whatever, it doesn't really matter anymore, since Malmö got selected. So yeah, there's not really much to talk about here. I will talk about the countries, but let's skip past that real quick. Let's talk about the format. So first off, we already have some of the directors. We have Ebba Adilson, but yeah, you get it. We will have Ebba Adilson as the chief producer. We will also have some other names that have already worked on previous Swedish hosted Eurovisions. And I mentioned Edvard af Sillén in the previous video, but actually, I don't think he was ever officially credited as some sort of director, but he was the scriptwriter, and he also, I think it was actually his idea to do Love, Love, Peace, Peace, hence why people called him the Eurovision mastermind. And right now, all I see of him on Twitter is basically he's posting random GIFs or videos of people doing stupid things and going good night or good morning. So yeah, that's interesting. We still don't know whether Edvard af Sillén will return to write the scripts for the show, but we'll have to see what happens. One thing a lot of people are talking about is the voting system, and basically, it's the jury, basically, and apparently NRK are going to propose to the EBU to change the jury split from 50-50 televote jury to 70-30. So basically, the televote would get 70%, the jury would get 30%, and some people accused them of just not playing by the rules because, of course, in the last few years, Norway has done significantly better in the televote than they have in the jury. Spirit in the Sky, and well, not so much Fallen Angel, but Spirit in the Sky, Give That Wolf a Banana, and then also Queen of Kings. All three of these, they did significantly better in the televote than the jury. So in a way, it's kind of like Moldova trying to ask the EBU to increase the voting power of the televote. So yeah, I don't think 70-30 is going to happen, but I think we will get some sort of some sort of jury reform. Maybe they'll get more members. Maybe they'll require the jury members to be from more diverse occupations or genres of music, I guess. So yeah, we'll have to see what happens. And like I mentioned in the last video, apparently they're trying to cut the whole show by an hour. Again, I don't know how they're going to do that, but yeah, we'll see what happens. And there's not really much else to talk about here. There's the broadcasts. One thing I will talk about for Germany is that traditionally we would have Peter Urban do the commentary for Germany. However, he's stepping down from the role after, I think, 25 years of being in the role, and a lot of people, including myself, are speculating that his successor could be Kanzi, or I think his real name is Konstantin Zöller. He's currently doing the commentary for Junior Eurovision, and he was also in Liverpool for the to do a bunch of special videos for Eurovision.de. So yeah, he's very connected to Eurovision, and a lot of people are speculating that he might do adult Eurovision as well in addition to Junior, but we'll see what happens. And also kind of unrelated to Eurovision 2024, but apparently Peter Urban did a little thing where he talked about his favorite Eurovision songs over the years, and one of his favorites was Amarpelisch Deutsch, which is very tasteful. And he said that Sister, I think that was 2019, the German entry from 2019, he said that didn't really have much personality, which I absolutely agree with. So yeah, that's Peter Urban. He's stepping down from his role as a longtime German commentator for Eurovision, and he may or may not be succeeded by Kanzi, but we'll have to see what happens there. Right, so with that out of the way, let's talk about each of the countries. Let's do, of course, alphabetical order. First off, Austria are returning to an internal selection. They've said basically that they are also broadcasting this unrelated talent show, and they just don't have the resources to do a national final, basically. So they're going back to an internal selection. Obviously, I mean, it worked for Tia and Selena, and it probably will continue to work. So one bit of news that I just got, I think yesterday, is apparently Conchita Wurst is interested in returning to the contest, and this obviously probably has something to do with Lorraine coming back and winning. I'm not as confident that Conchita Wurst is able to do that, considering I'm sorry if you like the song, but I genuinely think Rise Like a Phoenix was one of the worst winners of the 2010s. I'm sorry, don't come for me, but it's just my personal opinion. Anyways, Conchita Wurst is apparently interested in returning to Eurovision, and there are several hints that she might be interested in submitting a song to the Austrian delegation. So we'll see what happens there. But another name that is interested, and one other name you might not know that is also interested in participating in Eurovision for Austria next year is Julia Steen, or Julia Stein, I guess. I don't really know how to pronounce it. It's spelled Steen. So yeah, Julia Steen, and you probably don't know who she is, but basically she's actually the manager of wow, that was a voice crack and a half, but yeah, anyways, oh my god, she's the manager of Tia and Selena, but she's also a singer herself, and recently she posted this new song called Hauptgewinn, which is in German, as you might imagine. But apparently she's submitted, from the looks of it, more than one song to the Austrian broadcaster, and Tia was also involved in the songwriting process, and she tweeted recently that even if Julia doesn't get selected, then we will still get some bangers, according to Tia. So yeah, we might get that. Who knows? Tia might be in the Austrian delegation for a second year in a row, but we'll have to see what happens. In the meantime, let's move on to the next country, which is Azerbaijan. They've opened up their selection process. Basically, I think they're just going for an internal selection again, but they haven't really specified any criteria or details or anything. They've just opened submissions. There's not much else to say about that. So with that said, let's move on to Cyprus, where honestly we haven't gotten much actually. We've gotten the number of contestants for Fame Story, and that number is 15, and the host of the show is going to be Nikos Koklonis, and they've apparently already received over 1,000 applications, and the trailer for Fame Story was released a week ago as of recording this. And yeah, basically, one thing that I didn't mention in the previous video is that this isn't just a Cyprus thing. This is actually a Greece and Cyprus thing. So there's actually yet again a chance that we will have a person from Greece representing Cyprus. So yeah, take that as you will. And also they're having discussions for having basically big names for the jury. One of those is Anna Visi, who represented Greece in 2006. So yeah, that's honestly really all we have. And also the final is apparently going to take place sometime around Christmas, hence, you know, December 2023 right here. So yeah, there's that. We will get the contestant, we will get the name of the winner of Fame Story around that time. And yeah, that's really about it. We haven't gotten much else. And I was about to say I'm gonna move on to Denmark, but honestly we haven't gotten much from Denmark, so let's just skip past them to Estonia. With Estonia, again, we don't really have much. However, one thing we do have is that Tommy Rahula, who was the director of escplus for the past 5 years, is now stepping down from that role. And you know, I think most people don't really have much of a reaction to this, but Eurofans are very excited for some reason, because people think that under Tommy Rahula, the show has been a little too safe, and they're hoping that you know, escplus might be a bit more adventurous, a bit more out there, if someone else takes on the role rather than Tommy Rahula. So yeah, other than that, we don't really have much. We only really have some vague time periods, and apparently the show might start in fall, or the selection process might start in fall. Yeah, I don't really have much else to say about that, so let's move on to Finland. I already talked about Lola last episode, so there's really not much to talk about here, except they are apparently planning to see if they can get a bigger venue to host the contest, to host the national final. So we'll have to see what happens there. With France, we don't really have much. With Germany, again, we don't really have much. Again, like I mentioned earlier, the commentator from for Germany, Peter Urban, is stepping down. So yeah, that's really all the news we have for Germany. I think the national final is probably going to be called, you know, Unser Lied for Malmö again. So yeah, was it called that in 2013 or whatever? I don't know. I haven't followed Eurovision that long. So yeah, with that said, let's move on to Iceland, who I think already opened submissions for Söngvakeppnin. However, we don't really have much else. We have a rough time period for the national final, but we don't have much else. Yeah, so you know, as usual, one thing that is guaranteed is that basically in the semi-final, all contestants have to sing in Icelandic, while in the final they can choose to either sing in Icelandic or English. So yeah, there's that. sometimes some artists don't even bring English versions of their song, like that band that sung the song called OK in 2023. They didn't even have an English version of their song available on YouTube or whatever. So yeah, that's a rule that's always been there, but I'm just kind of reminding you of it because I don't have much else to say. With Ireland, I also don't have much to say, but apparently, according to I think it was Lad Bible Ireland, apparently Jedward wants to return to Eurovision for Ireland, and I think I would hate to see it. Just because Lorraine came back and was successful doesn't mean other countries can do that and get the same result. So, I would rather have newer names. I would also maybe even have Roshan. Oh, I think it's pronounced. I checked some different places, and I think it's pronounced Roshan. Yeah, Roshan O, or even Orla Gartland if she's up for it. Well, yeah, we'll see what happens. We don't have much news. For Israel, we actually just got some news, I think, yesterday about their national final. They're returning to the national final that they used between 2015 and 2020. I called it Rising Star, and I think a lot of people still call it Rising Star, but apparently its official English name is The Next Star. So, I don't know. I think I'll still keep calling it Rising Star. But apparently they revealed their hosts and also their judging panel. And apparently they've reported that they are already doing casting for an audition session in September, and they will air the national final in November. So yeah, that's going to be interesting if you care at all. And with that, that's pretty much it for Israel. We're moving on to Italy, where, of course, they're going to select their Eurovision entry using Sanremo. They've announced the rules of Sanremo, and basically one change that they'll have is that instead of having a demoscopic jury, there's now going to be a radio jury. I wrote about how the different juries vote on the different nights, and I wrote here actually that the split prior to the super final is 26.6% press jury, 26.6% radio jury, and 46.8% televote. It's a very specific number. I have to look at this to check it myself, and the super final is also still going to consist of 5 participants, and there will be 23 big contestants. That is the big names that aren't, doing Sanremo Giovanni, and they will be announced in the first half of December. So there's not really much else, and except I saw today that in this interview, Il Volo, you might remember them from 2015, Il Volo, they expressed their support for the current Italian head of state, the far-right head of state. So, yeah, make of that what you will. Let's move on to Lithuania, who haven't really done much. They've announced their participation, and we presume that there's going to be Pabandomish Naujo, and I'm gonna try to attend it if possible. But yeah, there's not really much else. They haven't opened submissions or anything, so yeah, they've confirmed participation, but that's kind of it. With Luxembourg, boy, where do I even start? But okay, one thing I will say is that I think on around Sunday, they posted an entire photo gallery of like 120 something photos of the jury panel, and also a bunch of the contestants who were taking part in the first round of auditions. Basically, there were 5 people on the jury panel, including Dave Glosner. His name will come back later, but there were a 5-member jury panel for both Friday and Saturday, apparently, and there were over 100 applicants basically, and yeah, they basically looked through those, and apparently they said that there are some singers in there who might make it to the national final itself, but this is only the first round, because this is only the round for basically singers who don't have a song, so they can still sign up if they're from Luxembourg, or if they have like strong ties to Luxembourg. But yeah, they basically can apply, and they can like sing live in front of the jury, and yeah, so after that they might select a bunch of them, and then they'll get hopefully paired up with a song that has been submitted by some other songwriter who may or may not be from Luxembourg. So yeah, we'll see what happens there, but yeah, they posted about this auditioning session, and yeah, again, it just goes to show that there is very much an interest for Eurovision in Luxembourg, and we love to see it. Now I mentioned the name Dave Glosner earlier. I think it's Glosner, yeah, Dave Glosner. Basically, his current title is head of Eurovision at RTL, and I don't know if he's going to be the head of delegation, because when some article involving him was posted, basically the head of media of the Czech Republic commented basically on someone else's post that he's not the head of delegation yet. So he might get appointed as the head of delegation, but what we do know so far is that he is very active on Twitter. You can follow him. He's Dave Glosner, spelled Gloesener. Yeah, Dave is just Dave, Dave. And yeah, basically, one thing that he's reiterated many times over the past week is that the name of the national final will be announced soon. Hopefully that also includes some other details about the national final. But what we do know about the national final right now, you know, other than the dates, it's going to take place, like it's written here, the 27th of January next year. What we do know, in addition to that, is that online the national final will also be broadcasted in 3 languages. So I think the national final is probably going to be broadcasted in Luxembourgish, or maybe French. I think Luxembourgish, actually, because they do their news and such in Luxembourgish. So I think it's going to be broadcasted on TV in Luxembourgish, but it's also going to be broadcasted online, apparently in 3 other languages. They haven't really specified which 3, but I would guess English, French, and either German or Portuguese, because like I mentioned in my Luxembourg video, there's actually quite a few Portuguese people in Luxembourg. Around I said in the video almost 1/5, but actually now it's dropped down to 14%. So yeah, that's still a lot, though. I think that's still like 1/7. So yeah, there's still a pretty significant Portuguese population in Luxembourg. So it could be English, French, Portuguese, or English, French, German, and we'll see which one of those it is. But yeah, I love it. They are providing support for the international fans, you know, just like ULA are for UMK. You know, UMK is broadcast in 6 languages or something crazy like that. So yeah, with that said, let's move on to Malta. I don't think I really have much to say about Malta. Most of their news relating to Eurovision lately has been junior stuff, which I will probably cover in a what we know so far video for junior. So yeah, not much to talk about for Malta, and also not much to talk about for Moldova. They've just confirmed participation. They haven't said anything about, you know, the national final or whatever. So with that said, let's move on to the Netherlands, who have actually announced quite a few things. The first thing they announced was that they are not going to do a national final. They will continue to stick to an internal selection you know, the proverb goes, don't throw away the baby with the bathwater. Just because you failed once doesn't mean it's reason to just change everything. So yeah, they're continuing with their internal selection. There's still going to be a committee looking at the different singers. But one thing they will change with the process is that they are now the singers that are applying to the process are now required to do a live audition, so they can prove that they can sing live at Eurovision and stuff like that. So yeah, that's definitely nice. And the second thing is that they have changed their head of delegation. Their previous head of delegation has resigned, and their new head of delegation is the you might recognize him from just Eurovision, really. His name is Twan van den Nieuwenhuizen. I saw this on Eurovision Tom's video earlier, and he gave it a go. Basically, he gave it a go at pronouncing the name. But Twan van den Nieuwenhuizen is basically he for between 2021 and 2023 he was basically, I think, the head of contest, which basically one of his major roles is to determine the running order. So the head of delegation, or really just the delegations themselves, they'll send the information about their staging to the EBU, and it's mainly Twan van den Nieuwenhuizen's job to basically put the different songs into a competent running order, so most songs won't clash with each other in terms of color scheme. So it's not really clear who's going to be the head of contest next year. Maybe Christer Bergman, wink wink. But Twan van Nieuwenhuizen is now the new Dutch head of delegation. So yeah, that's interesting, and Eurovision Tom thinks is a good thing because he did work on all these the staging and everything, the running orders and such. So he knows a lot about the inner workings of the EBU, and that could be useful. I don't know. And a lot of people accuse Twan of favoring his own country when constructing running orders. So yeah, no comment on that. But so that's basically it. There's been a few interesting names. One name that immediately pops out is Douwe Bob, who represented the Netherlands, I think, in 2016, and is known in the Eurovision community for having a lot of kids. Apparently, he said earlier that he might be interested in returning. But then, when one Instagram page reported on this, he responded with "nah, bro" or "nah, dude" or something like that. So yeah, it's kind of giving mixed signals. He might be sending a song, he might not. We'll have to see what happens. Another name that is interested is Stefania, or Stefania, or however you pronounce the name. She represented Greece, but she's actually born and raised in the Netherlands. Because she's of Greek ancestry, she speaks Greek, obviously. But yeah, she mostly lives in the Netherlands, and actually later this year, or might be just in a month or two, she's actually going to be co-hosting the Junior Eurovision selection for the Netherlands, called Junior Song Festival. So, she's doing that, and apparently she's also interested in representing the Netherlands, which, fair enough. But, we'll have to see what happens with that. There's also some other names. I can't remember any of them off the top of my head. So let's move on to the next country, which is Norway. Now, with Norway, we already talked about the whole jury reform thing, but in terms of actual participation at 2024, of course, we're going back to MGP, or in Norwegian, MGP. But basically, one change that they've made this year is that basically all songs that were released after the 1st of or on or after the 1st of September are now eligible to take part in in Melody Grand Prix. So this could pressure, I guess, some artists into submitting their songs for the Norwegian selection. We don't really know, but we'll have to see what happens there. That's really the only major change that we've seen with MGib here. And I think the auto-tune thing is going to stay from the tone of the head of delegation. So yeah, make of that what you will. Next we have Poland. We don't have much in terms of actual concrete news. However, just I think yesterday or 2 days ago, as of recording this, Tulia, who represented Poland in 2019, calls for greater transparency from TVP. So good luck with that. I don't think that's ever going to happen, but yeah, good luck with that. So yeah, let's just move on. We don't really have much news again. So yeah, let's move on to Serbia, who they haven't actually made like a news article or anything yet, but it seems like it's pretty much confirmed that they're returning to Pesma za Eurovision, because actually the application form just opened today. Weirdly, they haven't announced it, they haven't tweeted about it, but it's there on the website, it's on the RTS website, and you can apply for Pesma za Eurovision 2024 right now. And one name that is interested is Zoria. You might remember Zoria from 2022 when she was a fan favorite because she was singing this really Balkan-sounding song, and it was also called Zoria, the song. And she came third after Constructor, obviously, and also Sarah Yo. We don't know if Sarah Yo is going to return. I haven't followed her Twitter closely enough to tell, but basically Zoria is interested in returning, as reported by a Eurovision fan page run by a Serbian. So yeah, that's interesting. If you're a fan of Zoria, you might have something to look forward to. So yeah, that's really it. We don't really have like exact dates on anything yet for that, which is very different to what I'm about to say for the next country, which is Spain. So with Spain, again, as of recording this just today, or maybe yesterday, I'm not really sure, they had a press conference which basically announced their basic details for Benidorm Fest 2024, and yes, there is going to be Benidorm Fest 2024, and basically the dates are that they're going to have the first semifinal on the 31st of January, and they're going to have the second semifinal on the 1st of February and the final on the 3rd of February. So those are the dates. You can mark those down in your calendars, and you can see right here, TBD free February 2024. And yeah, so there's that. There's also this interesting announcement that they might be looking for songwriters from other countries to submit songs to RTVE. So that's a little bit suspicious, and it might turn into a kind of Malta type thing where there's a lot of like Swedish or Norwegian or just Nordic songs in the Spanish national final. So yeah, we'll have to see what happens, but it's not going that well, although the journalists at the press conference did say that it wasn't as bad as they had expected it to be, so maybe there was still hope. So we'll have to see what happens. With Sweden, ironically, we don't really have much information. They basically dropped the host city and dates announcement, and they've just kind of been quiet ever since. Well, of course, they had the announcement that they were going to change Melfest, but I already talked about that in the previous video. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't really have much to say about Sweden, to be honest. So yeah, with that said, let's move on to Switzerland, who are continuing to have their internal selection, and one potential song is likely to come from the songwriting camp named Suisa, spelled Suisa, and yeah, some songs from that songwriting camp might end up in the selection for Switzerland, and Taya has apparently listened to the song and thinks it's a banger and has a 99% chance of being the Swiss entry for 2024. So we'll have to see what happens. And finally, on our list of confirmed countries, we have Ukraine. Now, apparently, there are rumors that they might be reforming the national final because apparently, according to other rumors, the Heart Kiss, or more specifically, Yulia Sanina herself, might be interested in returning to the national selection, but they're not really allowed to do so right now because basically they have been banning every single artist who performed in Russia after the 2014 annexation of Crimea. They've banned all those artists from taking part in the national final, which ironically, this is a relatively new rule, by the way, and ironically, this actually would ban Jamala if she were to ever return to Vidbir. So she's not. She's actually said already that she's probably never going to return, but if she were to return, she would not be allowed to do so. So, yeah, coupled with that, and also with the fact that Yulia Sanina and the Hard Kiss might be interested in returning, there are rumors now that they are looking to reform the national final. They might change this rule about Russia, and this might also allow Alina Pash to take part in Vidbir again. Although it's unclear whether the Ukrainian people have forgiven her yet, even though she has been very vocally pro-Ukraine throughout this whole conflict. Alina Pash, the Hard Kiss, Jamala, Max Barsky. Apparently, all those artists have performed in Russia after Type 14, and apparently, according to some rumors, they are looking into reforming the national final to allow these artists to perform again. At least in the national final. And probably not Maroof, because Maroof is apparently very pro-Russia. So yeah, there's that, and apparently there's also a possibility of them reintroducing semifinals, so we'll have to see what happens there. So now let's move on to the other countries. The first one here is Czechia, which traditionally they just don't confirm that early, so yeah, there's not really much to talk about. I haven't really seen too many interested artists yet, but I could be missing stuff. I mean, I haven't been super active on Instagram and stuff, so yeah, that's Czechia. They might not confirm that early, but I think they will be in 2024. We'll have to see what happens. Greece, obviously they're going to do Eurovision, but they might do a national final. We don't really know yet. I haven't gotten much news since the last video I did, and same with North Macedonia. They seemingly want to return, but we haven't gotten much in the way of confirmation or even discussion. So yeah, same with the UK. Again, we don't really have much, but they are like 100% going to take part in 2024. Obviously, two countries I want to talk about though are Turkey and Hungary. Now that sounds really weird, right? Why would I talk about Turkey and Hungary when they're basically gone for good from Eurovision? Well, let's talk about Turkey first. Basically, there are rumors. These are very, 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 very speculative, but there are rumors that Turkey could return to Eurovision. Now, the reason for this is because recently some Eurovision YouTubers have reported that their uploads of old Turkish entries in Eurovision have started to be copyrighted by TRT, and also some people also noted that Erdogan has suddenly become a lot more pro-Europe. They've given back the Ukrainian prisoners of war. They've even allowed Sweden to join NATO. They've become a lot warmer, or precisely precisely Erdogan has become a lot warmer to Europe. So maybe, just maybe, we could see Turkey in Eurovision in the near future. Maybe not 2024, but we'll have to see what happens. Another country that well, we haven't seen much change from the leader of the country, but Hungary could return to the contest. Now, this isn't necessarily from any Hungarian source, but rather it's actually from the head of delegation of Norway. Like I mentioned earlier, basically he was on this Hungarian Eurovision podcast for an interview, and he said that basically the EBU wants Hungary to return to the contest, and NRK might be working with the EBU to try to get them back to the contest, maybe not in 2024, but in 2025. So that could be very interesting, but ultimately I think it depends on Orban and how he chooses to look at the whole Eurovision thing. But I think at this point in time, Turkey probably has a surprisingly high probability of returning to Eurovision, but I may be speaking too soon. So we'll have to see what happens with those two countries. And with that said, that's mostly it. One last thing I want to talk about, an update on Zara Larsson. Apparently, she said, I think around a week ago maybe, that on some Swedish morning talk show, that apparently she's already in talks with SVT to be an interval act. So we probably will have Zara Larsson performing in Malmö next May. So yeah, that's pretty much it from me in terms of what we know so far in Eurovision 2024 news. Hope you enjoyed this video. Like this video if you did, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss my upcoming videos, which will include a part 3 on Eurovision 2023 analysis, and I promise you that is coming. I'm editing it right now. It's I will warn you, it's almost 3 hours long, so if you don't want to watch it, just don't do it. But yeah, I have recorded all of the segments. I just have to put them all together, and it'll be up very soon. So again, thank you for watching. Like this video if you enjoyed, and I will see you next time.